I can tell you for sure, Eliza, some of these domestic violence hazijaanza na kufungiwa ndani.
Really?
They must have been simmering, you know, ile kitu ambao haijatokea lakini iko na huku chini. So it is like we have a problem. So it is either we deal with our issues.
Or they issues
or you are right. Or the issues deal with us. They say we fake it until we make it, but I can tell you for sure, in relationships, you cannot fake it for long. Somehow, if it is on the inside of me, it will come out.
Yeah, true.
So you will find the person controls who you talk to. They want to isolate you.
Right from the beginning.
From the beginning. Yeah, they want to control, including what you eat and what you wear. I want you to understand there is a difference between influence and control.
Yeah.
Because in a marriage, we don't control or change each other. What we do, we influence one another.
Yeah. Hello and welcome viewers. Thank you for your time and thank you for your cooperation. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you today into our program, Light in the Tunnel. We are so much grateful for the support that you have continued to give us and to give this channel. It has been an awesome journey working with you. And today, as I always say, there is light in the tunnel that you're walking into. Today, we are so much blessed, we are so much privileged to have our guest today. She's an amazing woman of God. She's an amazing servant in the kingdom and also in this institution of marriages. And to bring you light today, we have Pastor Carol. She's our mom. She is a mother and she is a lot that she's going to preempt. And so today we are going to be talking a topic on how to deal with toxic relationships and families. And this topic has really been a thorn into many relationships, into many families. And today we felt like we are going to deal with this so that our families outside there that are facing a lot of darkness, you know that there is light even in our families. And today I'm so much privileged to welcome her so that she can talk about this and a lot. So allow me to invite her to be able to introduce herself. But before then, let me remind you that this program is normally sponsored by Montec Media. Montec Media, it's a company that normally do photography, videography. If you want your memories to be covered, they are here and they got your back. Montec Media, you can call them if you have a family gathering, if you have a wedding, you have an anniversary, or any other event that you want them to save your memories. I normally tell you that if you got somebody who can capture those memories and keep them safe for you, you are saved. And so, Montec Media, you can call them through this number that is running on your screen. And they are also located at Zimmerman, near Cooperative Bank. When you want to see them physically and you are at Cooperative Bank, hapo tu, you can make a call and they can also direct them to their studios. And then you can sit down, discuss, and see how they can also fit your budget. So God bless you so much. Welcome. And let's get this started. Let us help me to invite Pastor Carol so that she can introduce herself. Karibu, Ma'am. Let yourself introduce yourself to our viewers and let them know who you really are.
Thank you. Thank you, Eliza, even for this opportunity and this chance to be able to talk about the topic at hand. I want to greet you, our viewers. Welcome, and I know we are going to be blessed. My name is, as has been mentioned, I am a wife. I am a mother of 3. I have their adult children, 26 years, 23 and 20 years old. I serve with the Full Gospel Churches of Kenya. I am a marriage and family therapy also. And that is where we are. I'm glad that I have had this opportunity to come.
Wow. So welcome, and as you have heard, she is a family or marriage therapist. So prepare your marriage for a therapy today. I know our viewers have now understand who we have today, and she has mentioned something that she's a marriage counselor.
Yeah, marriage and family.
Yes, and this is why we have her today here, just to speak on a topic that is, I think it's bothering us, and especially at this time. We have experienced a lot of deaths, and especially caused by our family people, and we tend to ask ourselves, has love ended at this point of staying together? And that is what made us to call you here and discuss about the toxic marriages and relationships that has led to deaths. And we want to understand, what are these toxic relationships and toxic marriages? Yeah, when we talk about toxic marriages and relationships, what are we talking about?
Yeah, indeed. I want to begin, Elisa, by saying that family is the backbone of the church. The family unit is the backbone of the nations. So without strong families, then we don't have strong churches, we don't have working nations. And therefore, the basic unit that needs straightening, if you like it, is a family. So unless we have families where people are united, people are pushing together, people are focusing the same direction, then we are likely to have the same in the churches, we are likely to have the same in the nations. So God is the architect, He is the designer of the marriage. And he began the marriage for the purpose of promoting oneness, for the purpose of unity, for the purpose of love, for the purpose of procreation, so that children are brought up in an environment that is healthy. So that is the idea of God. And indeed, when we read in the scriptures in the book of Ephesians, we also learn that marriage, a working marriage, a healthy marriage, it is an example. It is, in fact, an earthly picture of the relationship between Christ and the church. So if we are going to portray that picture, then we must work on our relationship in such a way that love prevails, unity prevails, respect prevails. There is harmony, there is oneness. It is a place where you feel accepted, loved, and you feel you belong. So as I'm saying this, then a toxic relationship is where these elements that I've mentioned are not there. Yeah, they are not there. There is no love. There is no respect, even respect for human rights. There is no, the person does not feel I belong. There is a rejection. It is a place where you cannot trust and you are not trusted. It is a place where you are filled with fear, of this person. I mean, it is like you are there and it is like you are not there. Because really marriage is a place where you feel this is where I belong. Yes. I am appreciated. I am valued. I am a person of worth. Yeah. Yes.
That is marriage.
That is marriage.
So when these things are not there, that is when now this marriage, we can say it's a toxic one.
Yes.
And now I want to ask a question before we continue. Is this toxic marriage what brings domestic violence?
Yes, indeed. when there is this toxicity and it is prolonged, it results to a pattern of abusive behavior, which we call domestic violence.
Yeah.
It is a pattern. It is a pattern. And when we talk about domestic violence, it can also be referred to family violence. It can also be referred to intimate partner violence, and all these are kind of behaviors, abusive behaviors. And I've said it is a pattern. Now, why do we call it a pattern? We are calling it a pattern because it is like it occurs. In fact, we say it is a cycle.
Oh.
Kind of, somebody is violated, then there is forgiveness, asking for forgiveness, and remorse, and being very sorry. And then I am forgiven. And then for a while, I am not. Then I go back to it. And then I am forgiven. You see that cycle.
Yeah.
And this is what makes it a pattern, because somebody does not seem to have really made up their mind that I will not repeat this. Yeah? So this other person whom we will not call them the victims. We would rather call them survivors, because a victim portrays something like, I am helpless. I mean, I am helpless, and it is like I can never get out of this. So the survivor normally think about the relationship, because it appears like this other person is like, he will change. And now that she has said, and by the way, violence is not only for women. Yes, even men are violated. There is domestic violence for men. Yes. But you see, the society where we are in, it tells a man to be strong.
Yes.
So if he happens to report that alipigwa na nani, na another man, no,
He's
my wife, I'm a woman. I mean, he can't even bring himself to report.
So the society intimidates a man at this particular element. So now the domestic violence is a result of a toxic relationship.
Yes.
Because you, as I understand, you call it a cycle.
Yeah, it is a cycle.
Okay. So what makes me to just tolerate this behavior is it love? Would we say it's love? Because today I go through something, and then, as you say, I forgive you. You go back to the same, I forgive you. Is this what we call love?
No, I wouldn't call it love myself.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it love myself. And the reason why I wouldn't call it love, because domestic violence has an element of control and power. Power and control. So now this person can see the pattern, can see the cycle, but there are so many other factors that would cause me not to get out of that relationship, or even to voice out that I am hurting here, I am paining here, I am in a toxic relationship. Number one is the intimidation that I get from this person. Number two, the perpetrators, because that is what we call them, the perpetrators begins by isolating you. So they isolate you from your cycle of friends. So from your family, from your friends, from any support system. Ndio unasikia wengine wanasema na usirudi kwenda hiyo kanisa. Nisikuone kwa hiyo mikutano ya wamama. Nisisikie ya kwamba ulienda kwenu. You know, because they want to isolate you. Yeah. They want to isolate you. And when you are isolated, then you can easily be violated, but you have nobody to tell. And again, they can easily intimidate you, that if you do this, I will do this. Yeah. They can tell you that I will kill you. Yeah, I'll kill you. Or I'll kill the children. Or I will take the children away from you if you ever... You get what I'm saying? Again, we also have an element like in the society. Of course, nowadays, Mungu ametusaidia kina mama. It is like you are so dependent on the man.
Yeah.
So financially, you are depending on him. If you are to ever pay your rent, you are depending on him. So that dependence again makes this person feels like I have power and control over this person. Okay, so now because of that, you find the person failing to make decision. Again, there is also the element of us African. It is like it is normal. It is normal for a man to discipline his wife, and therefore you have very little support. I am told of an incident of a lady who left her marriage and she went to her parents, and the mother just didn't even want to know amekuja kwa nini. So it was like ukule, ulale, kesho asubuhi urudi kwenu. So now the lady was not even given a chance to say exactly what was happening. And in fact, nobody lives to know what happened because she took her 2 children, got into a water reservoir, a dam, and she threw herself inside there. Why? Because she didn't have a home and she didn't have another home. It is like nobody seemed to understand me. So the society itself is also telling us it is okay for a man to discipline his wife. It is, you realize, Eliza, we talk about domestic violence, yeah, or family violence. Yes. Now that element tells us that it's a private matter. Yeah. It's a private matter. Yeah. It's a private affair. So when you speak loud about it, it's like, hey, unatoa, unatoa mambo ya nyumbani siri. So the fact that the community, the society treats it like it's a private matter is what is causing people not want to, they don't want to expose themselves. The intimidation. And what about the stigma associated with the person who lives? Huyo alishindwa kujenga nyumba yake. You know, amerudi kwao sasa kusumbua mama yake. Ameshindwa kufanya. So you find nobody want to be labeled a divorcee. Ama separated.
Single parents.
And again, our parents also will say like you are bringing another burden here, and they have enough of their troubles. So there is a lot.
And they show you a sense of hata sisi tulivumilia.
Tulivumilia, and that is why we are here.
Hii miaka yote huku kwa sababu hakukuwa shida. So
it is true. Again, look at the lawmakers. The lawmakers have not put in place measures, real measures that can be able to deter the perpetrators. Because if I go and report and I have to prove ya kwamba I was sexually abused. Yeah. If I have really to describe the event, I start by describing to the police. I describe it, it is intimidating, it is embarrassing. Yeah, it is embarrassing to me. So the measures that have been put in place by our Kenyan law, and not only our Kenyan law, the law also around over, kind of has not given the woman the power to be able to freely, or let me say the survivor, to be able to freely describe what has happened without intimidation. Yeah.
So I feel like we are starting to touch on the causes of all these happening to our marriages and the domestic violence itself. Yeah. What would you think would be some of the causes that are causing us to remain and even find ourselves, or rather this domestic violence being part of our lives? Yeah.
Now there are many causes of domestic violence, and different scenarios we have different causes. Yeah. But of course we have the general causes of domestic violence. and I think I've mentioned a number of them.
Yeah.
But the issues of commitment, number one, is a cause of domestic violence. What do I mean with this? People get into relationship, but they are not committed to it. For example, maybe a lady and a young man in their dating, and they want to get to know each other. Possibly they get themselves into sexual union and possibly resorts to a pregnancy. Then somebody says, no, you have to pick this girl. Or the girl insists, no, you have to marry me because I cannot go home with this pregnancy.
The fear of the stigma.
Yes, again, the stigma issue. So now they get married, but there is no commitment. So the person is like, unajua wewe ndio ulinifanya nikuoe, you are just careless. I was not interested with you.
Yeah.
So there is no commitment between the two. Again, there is this element of communication, where people have poor communication. It's like they are not communicating. What are they doing? They are complaining. They are arguing. You know, you find in that marriage, much of the communication is bent on arguing. We are arguing about children, we are arguing about sex, we are arguing about finances. We are, every other time when the topic comes, there is no talking. And you know, in communication we say there must be somebody who is passing the message. There must be the message that is being passed on. And it must go through correct media so that the other person can understand what you're saying. There must be a recipient, and this recipient must be able to decode the message that I'm sending so that he can be able to act accordingly and give me a feedback. Yeah. So sometimes the communication is about arguing, about blaming, about telling each other what you have not done, your failures and all that. So communication can also lead to such. Okay, financial matters. In-laws can be an issue, you know, where we allow families and friends and other people to get into the relationship. Okay, maybe it could be some funny habits, you know, some irritating habits that people have, and they cause the other person to get irritated. Yeah. Maybe we are talking about issues of the past. Maybe you have some baggages which you had not told me about. And now we are in a relationship. Maybe I had a child out of wedlock and I have not told you. And when it comes to we are staying together, I see a child here who is 12 years. I'm supposed to be taken to high school, you know. So it can be a lot. What's still is during this time of COVID-19, there has been an increase in the number of cases of domestic violence world over. And people are asking themselves, what is really happening? I can tell you for sure, Eliza, some of these domestic violence hazijaanza na kufungiwa ndani.
Really?
They must have been simmering, you know, ile kitu ambao haijatokea lakini iko na huku chini. So it is like we have a problem, and I'm bringing a scenario where we are a couple and we have issues of misunderstanding, of financial issues. Maybe you are misusing money, or maybe your way of getting money is through betting and gambling and all that, and you have wasted a lot of family money. So now, under normal circumstances where there was no isolation and lockdown, asubuhi ninaamuka naenda zangu. So it is like as I visit and relate with other people, this experience ya usiku ama asubuhi, it is kind of neutralized because I'm able to interact with other people. For 12 hours hatuko pamoja. So ukikuja masaa 2-3 si tunalala. So it is like we can really sweep under the carpet those issues. But now
not dealt with.
They are not dealt with. They are not dealt with. So now isolation imekuja, lockdown imekuja.
Hey.
So it is either we deal with our issues
Or they issues
or
deal with us.
you are right, or the issues deal with us. So now I wake up in the morning. We had an argument last night about the issues of finances. I wake up in the morning, we are still here. So we revisit it because it was not dealt with. In the morning, you know, we are together. So that could resort to violence. Look at a situation where we had already reached a point where now we are thinking of how we can separate or how we can begin the process of divorce. Lockdown imekuja. Yeah? So we are locked inside together.
Yeah.
And we were still contemplating we needed to be separated. So all these issues, of course, together with the financial implication of this, because some people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
Of course, we cannot say that because of a loss of a job, people should separate.
Exactly.
I think it is mismanagement of that season. Because I say this season, this lockdown is seasonal. It is so seasonal. It is not permanent. It is not permanent. But people make decisions out of this temporary situation. So I am saying that because of that being locked together, we call it the stress from work. The work stress can spill over to the family,
yes.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So those are some of the causes. We can talk about children, either lack of children. We can talk about children discipline, the issues of discipline, because
but
again,
among all these causes, I think people ought to know how to handle them even before they come. Because I don't think there is any cause that is too big for us to find ourselves where we are finding. Because right now, as you say, in the COVID season, you find a man killing a wife, you find a wife killing a man, or you find them killing even the children.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I think that should not be the way to go. There must be a way, somehow, that we are able to deal with this stress that is making us also involve the kids into our messes. Are there things that can tell us, maybe the red flags, as they call them, you know, things that can really tell us this thing is not heading where I would want my marriage or my relationship to head?
Yeah, indeed they are there. But can I tell you, Elisa, people can ignore ignore the red flags, and especially
is not defense.
Yeah, it is not defense. In actual sense, we reap the fruits of our ignorance at times. So you find the red flags are there. I say it from the word go. Violence, domestic violence, is about power and control. So when I am in a relationship, and the person that we are planning to get married, because I thought that is where it all begins. This is all where it begins.
Before I even got married.
Before I even get married. Those red flags will be there if we have given our relationship enough time. But
So
you see,
umepata mimba, and then you must get married.
You must get married.
So you must give it time.
Or possibly we are in a relationship for less than 6 months, and we think we are madly in love. So even if there is some control, there is some power somewhere, you don't see it because your focus is one. But when you give yourself enough time, because we cannot fake it for long. They say we fake it until we make it, but I can tell you for sure, in relationships, you cannot fake it for long. Somehow, if it is on the inside of me, it will come out.
True.
So you will find the person controls who you talk to. They want to isolate you.
Right from the beginning.
From the beginning. Yeah, they want to control, including what you eat and what you wear. I want you to understand there's a difference between influence and control.
Yeah.
Because in a marriage, we don't control or change each other. What we do, we influence one another.
Yeah. Wow.
So in this relationship, it is like you are controlled. What you eat, what you wear, where you go, who you associate with. They can even tell you your parents are not as important as they are. Whether you will work or you will not work, whether you relate with your colleagues or not, how you use your money. I mean, you feel suffocated. Yeah, you are suffocated in that environment. You fear. And whenever you are accepting something, it is out of fear. There is a lot of intimidation. There is a lot of threat. From the beginning, you are like, if you don't behave, I'm going to, you know, and you're feeling like there is a lot of control around yourself. So there could be some red flags.
So people must understand the difference between being influenced and being controlled.
Yes.
Because that seems to be like the big red flag that you can be able really to tell this might turn to be a toxic marriage, or this marriage will work rather, or will not work.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. That being one, are there some other things that we are able to tell with?
Yeah, I have mentioned a number of them. That fear and intimidation. Yeah, you feel intimidated. You feel harassed. Yeah, that this person can embarrass you. That is the emotional part of it. The emotional abuse. It can embarrass you. Can humiliate you. Can make fun out of you. Can make fun out of your situation. And they don't feel guilty.
Goodness.
Yeah, because maybe I should have mentioned this, Elisa, that we have different forms of domestic violence.
Oh.
The common one that people know is the physical abuse. Physical abuse is whereby mtu amekugonga, mtu amekuuma, mtu amekupunch, mtu amekufuruta, mtu amekuangusha, you know, and we can see it by the blisters, you know. Tunaona umekwarwa, tunaona umekatwa, tunaona.
That is why it's physical.
Yeah, that is why it is physical, because it is it can even be seen. You can see the marks. Yeah, and when you see the marks, then if you are observing from outside, then you are able to say this person is going through violence. Okay, but if they are about to our own, it is the emotional abuse. The emotional abuse is whereby you are psychologically tortured. As I've said, humiliation, through embarrassment, through threats, yeah, through threats, through insults, through those things that people even name calling, it is like Elisa, you are told you don't want to think. When you come at home, taught,
I know.
Una akili.
Yeah.
And sometimes we are told in front of people or in front of.
So you become embarrassed.
Yeah, in front of your peers.
Yeah.
Worse still, in front of your in-laws.
My goodness.
Yes, the emotional part of it. It can torture this person. It can torture this person. But you see, there is nothing that is visible. There is nothing that is visible. Another way is financial abuse or economic abuse. This is where Elisa, the man controls the finances, the family finances.
His or mine.
I'm calling it family finances because the moment you get into that marriage, yeah, whatever resources
you get,
it is for the family, for you, for him, and for the children. So that you cannot do anything. You cannot buy yourself anything, and if you buy, it is yours. There is nothing you can do. It is like
is everything. Mpaka anaficha the ATMs and anything that you could use for money. Worse still, they can abuse you economically by ensuring that you don't work. Utafanya kazi, utakaa nyumbani, utafanya biashara, utakaa nyumbani. So that is another area, yeah, another form of abuse. Another form of abuse that people don't know is called stalking. Stalking is whereby somebody is following you. Yeah? Following you. You are umeenda job. Maybe anaweza follow you himself, ama anaweza use someone else to follow you.
For what?
Ili ajue unaenda wapi na
unakuaga na kina nani.
Unakuaga na kina nani. Of course it begins with the physical, where you are also withdrawn, isolated from people. So now they want to follow you up. Or they could send these things, these gadgets.
The CCTV cameras.
Yeah, without you knowing. They can have it. There's something I hear, but I've not researched a lot, that they can do with your phone. So that your phone kind of monitors for them
your movements.
Your movement, where you are, without
and who you talk to.
Without your knowledge. So really, it can be a form of abuse. So I've talked about the physical. I've talked about emotional, which we also call it psychological. Yes. There is also the finances. There is also the stalking. Of course, we can also classify the emotional part of it. There are many.
There are many.
But all these will affect you significantly.
And when we say they affect, do they affect a man or women or both?
They affect.
So even both the lady or the woman can do the stalking of the man?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
okay. Yes.
You know, and especially, the element of the finances, sometimes people think it is not there. It is there. Because the days that we are living, you find women are empowered.
Yeah.
And
Very
particularly finances.
true. Yes, yes.
So I think there is the women fund, there's the Kenya women's do what. There is a lot of money.
The girl child is well catered for.
Yeah, they are able to get these finances. And of course, when the empowering began, we forgot the boy child. So the girl child went through school. They went through their studies. They went through the university. They are holding very key positions.
Yeah, even in the government and in the society.
And even in the industries.
Yeah.
They are getting more money. Besides, they have also been given opportunities that men are denied in court. Because you will hear an advert, and then when you read one of the advantages that a female candidate
more advantage.
Is more preferred. So
yeah.
We will go there with all the things. But already I am a mile ahead of you.
It is true.
So because of this, you find women are getting money.
And I don't know whether I'm alone, but talking about this whole topic, I tend to feel like we are talking about men, while it's both ways. I don't know whether I'm alone, but many people can identify with me, that when you talk about domestic violence, people tend to think, as you started to say, that even men are also victims in this topic. And people tend to think when we talk about it, we are talking about men abusing the women. But I'm glad to know it's both ways. And so I want to thank you so much for your continued support and also continued watching. I know that you're becoming enlightened, and this topic is becoming a great help to you. And so we're going to just take a short break, and when we come back, we are going to continue seeing the effects of these toxic marriages and also this domestic violence. How is it affecting us as a woman, as a man, as children, as a family, and also as a community? So God bless you. Stay tuned.
Moontech Media, capturing your magical moments.
welcome back to the show, and this is Light in the Tunnel. We are in the topic of the domestic violence or toxic relationships, and that is what we are discussing here with Pastor Carol, and she is helping us to understand what causes, how we end up in toxic marriages, and we now want to see the effects, how the toxic relationships or toxic marriages causes or affects us in one way or another. And so, Pastor, as we were going for a break, we said that we're coming back to check on the effects, how these relationships affects our children, affects me as a wife, affects this as a husband. How does it affect us?
Yeah, it is. I can tell you for sure that domestic violence has a lot of negative effect. And I'm using the word negative because there is nothing positive about domestic violence. There is nothing positive about it. I heard of a community in Ethiopia where the women think they are loved when they are beaten by the husband. But I think days are gone whereby such a backward kind of belief.
That was a history, or it is happening?
There was an element of primitivity of something that is happening in the current days, but I think it is not something to pride about. It is not a trophy either. Now, domestic violence has both physical effects. It has also the emotional effect on the individual, the survivor. And it can also have similar effect on the children. So when we talk about the physical, we know of many deaths that have resulted from violence. So the perpetrator can kill the victim, and now we call him the victim or the victim. Again, the perpetrator can turn to become the victim as the victim tries to defend themselves. So we have many people who have been killed, homicides, because of violence. Excuse me. We also have maybe some injuries, physical injuries. You remember there was an incident where a woman was cut, her hands, her hands. Some people have been disfigured. Men have been cut off, chopped off their private parts because of violence. So we are saying it has the physical. There are bruises all over their cuts, there are swellings. Wengine wametolewa meno. You know?
And another one, niliona amekatakatwa uso.
Yes.
Just to dismantle everything and just for you not to look admirable or something.
That is the thing. Others, it is, if I can't have you, nobody else will. Arrogant like macho. So there is the physical effect. Of course, it also has an element of the removal from your environment, you know? Like if, for example, the victim, or rather the perpetrator, gets into the wrong side of the law, he will end up being imprisoned. Yeah? He'll be in carceration. And what that means is that the family will suffer. He'll be isolated from the children, be isolated from the wife. He'll be deterred from the freedom. So really that is physical, the physical effect. And of course, if he was a breadwinner, you can imagine that would translate to the children also being affected. Okay? Also, we have this element of the emotional part of it. It can resort to depression. It can resort to stress, of course. It can also resort to withdrawing and isolating yourself because of the stigma, part of it, the intimidation part of it, the embarrassment, the shame, sometimes even the guilt that that one feels like possibly I am responsible, possibly I should have behaved better. If I behaved well, maybe he would have no reason to do this to me. The loss and grief. In fact, I think that loss of a home, of a family, because most women don't get married with the hope of getting out of it. I'm not saying all of them, but a majority of the women would want to make their home, because making home and making a family is kind of a maternal instinct. So nobody wants to get there and then you are violated. So there is a lot of loss. The loss of a marriage, the loss of a family, the loss of womanhood and motherhood and wife. So there is a lot of loss that one can go through, and many other negative emotions that can come in the inside of you. I didn't mention, Eliza, that we also have sexual abuse. Among the abuses that we talked about physical, emotional, we talked about financial and stalking. We didn't mention sexual. Sexual abuse can happen outside the marriage, where maybe after separation, maybe I've separated with my partner. Then tukipatana na huko njia, they can rape you. So it has an element of rape. It has an element of sexual assault. It can be related to uncalled for touching, touching, areas that I wouldn't want. It is not permitted. Or maybe the marital rape. But the marital rape is whereby it is in the marriage, but somehow this person is forced into a relationship out of their own will. So now, again, in the effect, of course we know when one is sexually assaulted or sexually violated, it can resort to shame, it can resort to embarrassment, it can resort to guilt. There are people who have said, I feel dirty. I remember an instance that somebody shared with us of a woman. She kept washing herself. In fact, she could count. She was in counseling and she was like, she could get into the bathroom at least 8 times per day. Every akikaka, she gets into the bathroom and she wants to wash herself. So now, from the counseling point of view, it was discovered that she feels dirty, she feels filthy, she feels unacceptable, It is like she's dirty through and through, if we can use that word. So what is happening in her mind is that what happened translated to her mind, and she's feeling like, I am useless. So there is that feeling of unworth. Okay? There is the feeling like, maybe I caused it. Possibly I should have behaved better, and maybe it would have not happened. But again, and the worst part of it is that there can also be transmission of sexually transmitted diseases. It can be HIV. There can be venereal diseases and all that. Of course, all these will bring the health part of it, of the woman. So I've said the effect, the emotional aspect of it is the shame, the fear, the guilt, the embarrassment, the stigma, and of course that feeling of being dirty. Of course, it also has an element of the mental state. In fact, it has been known to cause a lot of mental issues. Mental issues. There is depression.
That is even to kids.
Yeah, there is a lot of depression. It can resort to post-traumatic disorders, whereby mtu anakaa hivi. It is something that happened a long time ago, but it is still having an effect now.
So it is like ukisikia mtu amenok, it is like it reminds you huyo mtu alinok those days na alipoingia akafanya 1 2 3. It is like every day you are living in agitation, like it can happen even now. You are not able to sleep, you are not able to eat well, you are not able to concentrate, you feel restless, you know. There is a lot that is happening. You remember that when you remember the event. So it can have a lot of mental torture. Okay, mental torture. You have mood issues. Yeah, you have mood disorders that happen. You can have depressive disorder. There are so many issues that can occur mentally to affect your mental health. So that is on the victim and also on the perpetrator, because really there are people who are languishing in jail and they regret every day that they ever did what they did. They still feel like, I was angry, yes. I was bitter, yes. I was enraged, yes. But I didn't mean to kill. I didn't mean to kill. But somehow, because of that anger and rage, this is what happens. So the perpetrator is also suffering. They are also suffering. But at the same time, it has an effect on the children. And this is where I want to caution the viewers. As we violate each other, sometimes we forget that we have children who are looking at us. Now, if I have a problem with my husband, my children have no problem with me. Your children have no other parents. You remain the mother, he remains the father. But me, I can have another partner if I want. He can have another one. But these children have only you two as the parents. So if there are issues between the two of you, are we able to sort out these issues in the absence of our children? If there are arguments, ingieni kwa huko bedroom kaagi huko. Stop showing the children and causing them to be spectators, you know, and then they are left in the middle to make a choice. Yeah, huyu ndiye mzuri, huyu ndiye mbaya.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you are triangulating the children. Nikana kwamba I pour all my disappointment and tell my children how bad their father is, how much he is torturing me, how much, you know, when you tell the children like that, where do you want them to get another father from? So issues should be settled between the two of you. And should you decide what you want to do, let the children not be involved. Children develop a lot of fear. When they see a father hitting the mother or the mother vice versa, they develop a lot of fear. Children want to feel they are secure in that family. They are protected. Yeah? They have a future. So when we begin...
want to belong.
Yeah.
Belong and belong.
You are right, you are right. So when they feel like we are insecure here, because father will come, will beat mom, or mom will beat our father, they feel a lot of insecurity. And this has affected children even in their relationships, one with another. This is why you hear of bullies. A child is bullying another one because they have learned from home. In fact, we say children learn by number one, observing. And the observation must be continuous, yeah? Until wanaona it is a pattern, it's something that is happening. Then what do? They see the mother is a model, because wakati mom amepigwa ananyamaza, so kunatulia. So it is a way of telling people I am in control. They also learn, akube mtu akipiga mwingine, huyu mwingine ananyamaza. So you become a victor.
So the way to show that you are victorious is to beat somebody else. So you find children bullying each other because they have learned. I've said they learn by observation, they learn by imitation, they learn from the modeling.
I would agree with you because in one case, I found a child who was very, like he used to beat other children in school.
Yeah.
Until there was a teacher who was a counselor. And he called the boy and asked the boy, why do you always cane others? And he said, that is what daddy does. Yeah, and so it took a process of that kid to be taken to another level, or like to change the behavior. Because I remember the teacher taking this molding clay that they normally use for molding and made a person and told that baby, when you feel like you want to beat someone, beat this person that we have made that we have made here.
Yeah.
I think it was a kind of therapy. They did the child therapy until sasa akidismantle this clay. And unaona venye unafanyanga ule mtoto mwingine. But little did we know it was a psychological problem.
Yeah.
Until wakati aliona kumbe kitu kichapa inaharibika hivi. So the boy now started to come back to his senses. And I think I would agree with you. It takes a time now for them to recover again from that toxic effects.
Yeah, the effect. So you also notice that now we are talking about a small kid. He has learned by observing, by modeling, by imitation. So now this child will grow and start violating the peers if it is not dealt with. Then he'll get to dating, maybe the girl-boy relationship. There is a possibility of what we call dating violence. So that unasikia watu walienda, ati walikuwa wanaenda kurelate, kuongea, kujuana, wanatoka hapo kama wametusiana, wamepigana. Maybe
so unasikia kwa news fulani a boyfriend killed a girlfriend. These are the news.
Yes. If you go back, you will find maybe there is an exposure somewhere of this teenager or this young person from the family.
There's a root somewhere.
There is a root somewhere. There is something they have seen. Of course, we also say the violence in the community can also affect the children. Can also affect the children. But now we are looking at a lineage where this child is coming from a family where there has been violence. Now, if again it is not dealt with at that point, then when they become adults, they are also likely to abuse their spouses. So it becomes a cycle. Yes, and their children are also observing, remember? So they perpetrate.
Yeah. So that's why you find now the violence is not ending.
It is not ending. Because there is that now. And of course, you know, generations will make it, to add the quality. So how it was done by their parent, you might find what they will do, it's super, you know, and their children also go to the same. So it becomes a kind of a cycle. Children have also been affected academically. I was a teacher, by the way, and I know of situations where a child comes in class, I remember, and when I'm in the middle of nowhere, he just says, "Teacher, I want to go home." Why would you want to go home? And it is class time. No, I must go home. And he just wakes up and goes. So later on, we were to learn, the previous night there was violence. And the father was threatening to kill the mother. Nitakuua, nitakuua. So the boy, even as he's seated in class and listening to my biology, he still can hear the sound. So he said, I want to go and check whether my dad ameua mom. Why? Because he said he will kill her. You see, that of course will affect them, will affect the child academically. The other day I was listening to a case. He's now a grown-up and he's having trouble in his family. And the reason is, at some point, the parents separated. But you see, as I said earlier, this child has no other parent. So hata kama huko, you are not staying with them, you are still the father. So the boy in school saw the father. I don't want to give the details because people can connect and put right.
Yeah,
So
it's okay.
he saw the father and he was excited. So he's bragging to the other children that is my father. And because he had a vehicle those days, it was like the children must know that this is my father. So when he went and got near and called him dad, he said, I'm not your father. Papa kitu gani? I'm not your father. You can imagine the embarrassment for the boy, going back to the peers and telling them, and possibly, I don't know whether it was loud enough for the peers to hear, but it causes him to shrink, that he can remember it so many years like it was yesterday. And he says, from that moment on, my life was never the same. My academic life was never the same. And I'm never the same person. So you see, it is those issues, we separated, all right, but you don't cease to be a parent. So then maybe we can move on and talk about how can we now prevent this from happening.
Yes.
I have said, when we have conflicts, because conflicts are inevitable. Conflicts are inevitable. And all those elements that we say they cause divorce, they begin by causing us conflicts. So the first point is to think of ways in which we can resolve our conflicts. We resolve our conflict. And this begins early, even before we get married.
Sure.
So that we are able to talk to each other. We are able to tell each other how we feel about certain things. And then we are able to understand from each other what really they expect of us, and what is expected of us, what is our role, what is our expectations, what are our responsibilities. And from that moment, we are able to begin a journey whereby I know when I do this, it hurts our relationship, it hurts my partner. So there is a kind of an agreement as we are moving on.
Yeah.
Of course, the element of commitment. I must get into a relationship knowing that I'm not walking into somebody who is perfect. I am getting to a relationship with somebody who is in a process of making, and both of us can be able to help each other to achieve and to reach to where we want to be. So ways of handling conflict must be designed as early. Again, the commitment will tell us that because we are committed to this relationship, we will not engage in activities that can hurt us, can hurt our relationship. Because I said, and I want to repeat it again, violence has never resolved any problem, has never built any marriage. Violence, it has not. It has nothing positive. It is only negative. And when we look at it like that, then we know it is not right. I would also encourage that we have programs. Programs that are teaching our children that violence is not okay. We must have programs either in school or in our churches or in the community that tells our children as they are growing up, whether this is what they have observed at home or not, or even in the TV and in the media, we tell them violence is not okay.
And how to handle as they see it happening at home, especially because of the psychological.
Yeah, the psychological part of it.
Yeah.
So that is the part of the children, so that we may break this chain.
Yeah.
We break the chain by telling them it is not okay to violate somebody else. Then we also need to have programs for our parents that teaches them correct parenting, that teaches them the correct ways of handling anger and conflicts, how to resolve conflict. And there has to be a willingness of change of life. Because really, training or even those seminars, even those programs are aimed at transformation or changing our attitude. Sometimes it is the cultural part of us that makes us feel like we must control somebody. We have the power to control somebody else. So there has to be programs that are telling us you don't become money now because you are beating your wife. Or because you are beating your children. You don't become a hero by resolving it that way. You become a hero when you are able to reason with your wife, when you are able to resolve conflict in a manner that does not hurt you, does not hurt her, does not hurt the relationship. Yeah? The community also should come up and tell us it is not right, it's not okay. Yeah, it is not okay for people to violate one another. Because besides what I said, the children can also learn from the environment. Yeah. Like you remember when there was a lot of chaos. We don't want to remember those days of the post-election violence. We had a wave of even children fighting in school and banning their school. Why? Because this is what they can see in the society. Yes. So there must be a calm and a realization that violence does not resolve any conflict.
It's true.
It does not. Again, the lawmakers must also step up and tell us, this person who is violating his husband, her husband, what do we do with her? What do we do with this person who is exposing the children to violence? They want to beat their mother in the presence of the children. They want to quarrel with her in the presence and vice versa. Yes. So what do we do with this one? Yeah. So the laws must be clear. And you don't have to labor so much to prove that there was sexual violence, because it has an element of, again, what do you measure with? The emotional effect of abuse. How do I prove it even? You get. So there must be laws that are in place that can be able to protect the children, can protect the victim, we call them, or the survivors, and also the perpetrator, the person who has done this, must know the consequences of what they have done. Yeah. And finally, I would want also to say that marriage, I think it is the Bible that says that where there are counselors, it is like things can be straightened out. It is like we cannot miss it out, where we are able to talk, where we are able to open up, where we are getting help. Yeah, so we have people that God has empowered. He has given them the counsel, the counseling ability. So the spirit of counsel is there and it is at work. So we can know when we look for help, and help is available.
Thank you so much. I know you have learned something, one or two things, to help your family, to help your neighbor's family, to help your friend's family. And why we have this Light in the Tunnel program, it's to be able to enhance you, to enhance the relationships, the marriages. And I know that is why we are here, to build our marriages, to build our relationships, for a healthier community. Yeah, and I know with Pastor Carol, I know we have not exhausted this topic, and we are going to continue hosting her to bring a lot of topics to be able to build our marriages, and this will be happening here in the Light in the Tunnel. And to you, our viewers, I'm so much grateful that you sat, listened, And also, if there's a question that you would love her to come in our next video and you want her tackled, please feel free to give us your comment right below so that the other time she's coming, she will come and answer, I promise you, answer your questions. So God bless you so much. I want to give her an opportunity to wrap it up so that we can wind up. So your final words to our viewers.
Thank you. Mine is to encourage. Even somebody who is going through this, there is still hope. And there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Amen.
If we do a little more work, if we seek the necessary counsel, if we are willing to work at it. The Bible says that marriages are built, homes are built. So there must be an element of wanting to build it. There is hope, because again, the Bible talks about love, it hopes, it protects, it never fails. So I want to say, even if your marriage is not working now, you can begin the process. Identify where possibly your contribution to the failure and work at it. There is hope. There is hope. I can tell you, there is hope.
There is hope.
And together with me, if you find you need somebody, I am available. Amen.
And where can they find you?
You can find me in the Full Gospel Churches of Kenya, Zimmerman. That is where I have an office. That is where I work from. And we can be able to share. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And as you have heard, she has said there is hope in our marriages because this was God's intention. There is hope. And one thing I've learned is that learn to influence and not to dictate a partner's life. So they can learn from the influence that you give them, right?
Yeah, indeed.
So God bless you so much. Until next time, shalom.
Montech Media, capturing your magical moments.